Very good. Welcome to Woo Wednesdays. Hello, I'm MoJo Medium, your hostess with the mostess, your friendly neighborhood psychic medium, and your friendly neighbor. Welcome to Woo Wednesdays. Today, we're going to be talking about something really amazing, which is the reemergence of the divine feminine, which I've been talking about for about 25 years. So we'll get to that. But first, we have a special guest with us today, Karen Deggy. Did I get the pronounce your
Daggy.
Diggy? Deggy.
Daggy.
Deggy. Deggy. Okay. Is that Italian maybe?
Hungarian.
It's Hungarian. Oh, even better. All right, very exotic. So Karen is new to Woo Wednesdays and to me. And so we're going to have a chat and see where Karen's coming from and what she's all about. Obviously, you're with Adeli Coaching.
Yes.
Did I
My
pronounce that
business is
correct?
called Adeli Coaching. You
Adeli
did.
Coaching. Okay, let's start with that. Why do you call your business Adeli Coaching?
Because I needed a name for my business and didn't want to just use my name. And so when I was starting my business, I went and got together with a friend and we brainstormed business names because I was like, oh my gosh, I need someone to just tell me what my business name is.
Right.
Um, and we got together for an evening and started brainstorming stuff I liked and blah, blah, blah. And Adelie penguins are my favorite penguin species.
Oh,
So we stole the penguin species name for my business
that's
name.
cool. That's very cool. Okay, what's special about them? Would we recognize them if you describe them?
Um, I think they're one of the smallest penguin species. I don't think they are actually the smallest. I just think they're really cute.
I love penguins. I love penguins, and I am into black and white. That's my brand is black and white with crimson accents. So penguins fit very well. Penguins, pandas, that sort of thing. So okay, so now
Yeah,
we've established that. So tell me what you do in your business.
I am a coach, as one might expect from coaching.
Yes,
And I prefer, I'm a little bit in transition about how to talk about what I do.
fair.
I build long-term coaching relationships with people. I often work with people who are either neurodivergent or drawn to alternative relationship styles or both.
Love. Okay,
Um,
excellent.
I love talking about relationships, but also I think everything is a relationship.
True.
Like like your relationship to your work, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to your friends, your relationship to your significant others. It's
Absolutely.
all relationships. So like I kind of call myself a relationship coach, but I think that people understand that word differently than I do.
Mm. Some
And
people
in
do, but there's been a lot of talk in the last 25, 30 years about relationship marketing.
yep,
And that also applies to our topic today when we get to that. So that makes a lot of sense because your relationship with your clients is paramount.
yeah,
That's how you work and how you help people and how
yes,
you build your business. So yeah,
yes,
and it's all personal. It doesn't matter what kind of business you have. It is personal. It's personal to your client. It's personal to you.
yeah.
I've been in business now for myself for 25 years. I started my first business 25 years ago this June. And
Congratulations.
thank you very much. I'm celebrating. Woohoo. So yeah, I should have learned a thing or two by now, right? And it's always been that way. It's always been about the relationships and the connections with people. And that's what I like anyway.
Yeah.
But that's how that works. Okay, please continue about your beautiful coaching business. And I love your target market. That's awesome. I personally am neurodivergent. You may have picked up on the litany of things to do's that I gave to my business manager when I first met her. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's my ADHD. So I am on medication and I am aware of it, and so I work on working with it and the good parts of it, like multitasking, and being able to focus. If I don't let myself hyper focus very much, but some of those things can be just really, really great. And so I
Yeah.
try to celebrate that as well. So go ahead.
Yes.
So are you also neurodivergent?
I am not officially diagnosed. I am reasonably sure that I'm autistic.
Okay. Mhm.
Autism more than ADHD, there's not a lot of like adult support for.
Yes.
So the official diagnosis is less important.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I just haven't found a reason to pursue the diagnosis. It's expensive,
Well,
it's
and
a
it
lot of
takes
time.
takes a long time. Yeah, it can take years. I have a grandson who's on the spectrum, and he's 9.5 and was just diagnosed earlier this year. I
Yeah,
mean, officially, but they've been working on it for 2 or 3 years, to
yeah,
get the medical diagnosis and get the school diagnosis. Now, before that, he was already in occupational therapy. He was already in speech therapy, and getting some of the help that he specifically needed for him. They already knew he had severe ADHD and he was medicated for that, and has some sensory processing issues. And, we all knew before the diagnosis that that's what
yeah,
was going on, but it makes more resources available to him as a child, which you might not need. It gives
right.
him his IEP at school,
Yep.
and that way he gets the education that works for him. So that's, as an adult, you don't need that so much. But I have to tell you, this is so funny. I know a lady who's lovely and interesting, and I have to say that the neurodivergent community is totally my people, and just I find them the most interesting. I don't know why, but I do. So that's okay. So this lady, she's very clearly something, and she told me all about her hobby in a very um, complex and esoteric science. It's just a hobby. She didn't go to school for it. She knows all about it. And so she told me about it. And of course, I was fascinated. I am fascinated by all these kinds of things. But she told me all about that. And then one time we were chatting, and I said, "Do you think that you might be on the autism spectrum?" I said, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just curious if you know." And she said, "Oh, I'm not." And I said, "Really? Well, the way that you talk, it kind of sounds, you might do some research." She said, "Oh, I've researched it very thoroughly." And I was like, "Okay, tell me you're autistic without telling me you're autistic."
I
So
wonder how she came to that conclusion.
I don't know how she talked herself out of that, but I mean, like
Interesting.
you said, it doesn't matter so much as long as you are
Yeah,
comfortable in dealing with your life the way that you are, and that's fine. And I think
yeah.
she's probably at least my age, which is pretty old, so I'm sure she has figured out how to deal with it. But I just thought that was hilarious. I thought
And
it was cute. It
yeah,
was eerie. Yeah.
and I think that our understanding of autism has changed a lot in the last 25 to 30 years.
Oh, it has.
And
Yes.
like,
Well, and it has become obvious that I've known people with autism all my life. One of my
mhm,
best friends from 5 years old, he said several years ago, he put it on Facebook, "Well, I've figured this out now, and
mhm.
I am officially on the spectrum, but I'm on the high functioning end." And we're like, "Okay, it's okay, Carson, you don't have to do that." But bless him. And I was so I shouldn't have said his name. I'll have to edit that out. Um, it was so obvious when he said it. I was like, "Of course you are." And it changed nothing. I love him so much. He's wonderful, just like he is. And one thing he told me that was and we're off on a tangent now, baby. Um, one thing he said that was so clearly autistic, when he remembers exactly, distinctly being 4 years old, maybe, and making a conscious mental note to see how other people did things, how they responded to what, and how they did it so that he could do the same. Now, what 4-year-old does that? I mean,
Clearly this person.
yes, clearly him. And he's extremely smart, and he's very um he's a neat guy. Really, really interesting. And his parents were both educators, which probably helped him a lot. Just because I think if they didn't know anything about autism, they still recognized that he learned the way that he learned.
Yeah.
And so anyway, okay, so back to you and your business. So you work mostly with ND and LGBTQ, maybe, if I could,
Um,
you said different relationships,
I said alternative relationship styles.
alternative, yes,
That includes LGBTQ, that includes polyamorous folks,
right.
that includes people who are drawn to power exchange relationships.
Mm, okay,
Um,
I don't need any further explanation of that. Thank you. So what do you do? What is what do you bring to them that you offer, and how do you work with them?
So frequently my clients come to me stuck in a complex web of there's all these things going on. They all feel intertwined. I don't really know how to move forward. And we talk through that and like start to pull those threads apart a little bit. I think of what I do as accompanying someone and providing companionship along their growth journey. And like a lot of things, doing something together with someone can be a lot more effective and quicker than doing it
Absolutely.
on your own.
Absolutely.
Um,
So you hold their
Having another,
hand, you offer them information, you reflect for them, hold space for them. Yeah, that's really
not
good.
even always information, but like
Mhm,
reflection and clarity. And
mhm.
frequently people are like, wow, Karen, you ask really good questions.
Yes, yes, and that's a big part of being a good coach. Yeah,
It is. It's a
yeah.
huge part of being a good coach.
I coaching has become so big in the last 20 years, and I sometimes will tell people think about an athletic coach. So the athletic coach teaches you how to play the game, whatever it may be, and helps you to bring out your best abilities in being successful in that game, right? And that's what a life coach does, in whatever game we're talking about, that's what we do. So that makes a lot of sense. So what's your background that brought you to coaching?
I have a background in the technology industry. I
Really?
was a
Surprise.
software engineer and
An
then I
autistic
was
lady in IT, software
shocking,
engineering. Oh, yeah, shocking.
shocking.
Absolutely.
I was a software engineer for a while and then I started doing product management.
Mhm.
And then I decided that I didn't really want to work for other people and wanted to try self-employment for a while.
Yeah.
And thought through it and was like, I spend basically all of my free time anyway thinking about relationships, thinking about how brains work and like
Ah,
on introspection and personal growth. What does it look like to turn that interest and passion into a career?
yeah. That's awesome. So then you just went from there?
So I went into life coaching. I started a life coaching training program. I am working toward my ACC certification with the ICF. I am not certified
Excellent.
yet. There's a test that I have to take.
Oh, no
Um,
problem.
I I mean, I need to find the time to prepare for the test, but
Mhm.
I
If
am
you're
on the
busy
path.
working and you can't get the test, then oh well. I mean that's the whole
Right.
point, right? So I know you're in Washington State, which we have to say
Yep.
state. And are you from there?
I grew up in Colorado.
Nice. What part of Colorado?
Fort Collins, it's about an hour north of
I know
Denver.
Fort Collins. I know Fort Collins. I have one of my very best friends in the whole entire world. Grew up in Greeley.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's right there. And in fact, his father was a professor at UNC.
Nice.
Ta-da. Yep. So we're all connected somehow, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all that. Is there anybody I can refer to you right now? I know that you've given me sort of your broader category, but anything specific?
Here, I had a conversation with a friend recently about what should I be keeping in mind for people who would be a good fit to refer to you. Let me
Yes, that's
find
what I
what I
meant.
told him.
Okay,
People
perfect.
who are talking about being stuck, especially with something complex, people who are
Okay.
on a personal growth journey and feeling lonely about it,
Okay.
and folks who are wanting and craving professional coaching support, but feel discouraged and distrustful of the system after being forced into cookie cutter molds or having bad experiences where
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
weren't listening to them as individuals.
Mm-hmm. So I like that cookie cutter thing. Recovery from cookie cutter um, coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. One of the things that I say, what I'm specifically looking for is people who are in recovery from MLMs. And that may not mean anything to you. Do you know what an MLM is? Multi-level
Uh,
marketing,
yep.
sales, Amway, Mary Kay, that kind of thing. And the thing about those businesses, I mean, they have their place and they're very helpful for some people. Most people do not ever get successful in those. And what happens is they're selling somebody else's dream
Yep.
and making somebody else money. And I work with those people to undo that disillusionment into a new entrepreneurial experience where they're aligned with their soul's goals and they are following what their purpose is. And so I
That's
also
really
walk on their
cool.
path with them. Yeah. Yeah. So, and of course, you're not here because you don't know that I'm woo. So I'm very, very woo, very into all this kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, I do a lot of woo work, but I also do a lot. I was going to say I do a lot of brain work, and that's not exactly true. I know some brain stuff and some psychology stuff, and I know as much of quantum physics, which I really like. And so all of that goes into everything. Plus, I'm a psychic medium. So um, everything goes together. And I really have, since I've arrived at my own true purpose and feeling like I'm more me than I've been since I was a child, then that's really what I do. I really help people to get to that point. It feels so good when you're fully in alignment and you feel like this, I have purpose, I have meaning, I have life has meaning, I have a great feeling, and I specialize in working with business owners and pre-business owners who are not sure what they want to do in their business, or maybe they have a business that's kind of lost its sheen, they're not
Okay.
feeling inspired about it anymore.
Yeah.
And but they like being a business owner. They're not sure, like, do I need to make a change or not? That kind of thing. And
Cool.
especially women over 40, and I don't think you're there yet.
I'm
Um,
not.
a lot of us get into our 40s and start going, okay, for 20 years I've been doing the thing, whatever that is, raising a family, getting married and divorced, rounding out a career, whatever that is. And we start going, is that all there is? What about me? What do I was going to be a rock star, and I didn't get to do that. So now maybe I can, and so that's kind of my favorite people to work with. And not all my clients are there. I mean, a lot of them are in their early 40s, but then I've also got clients who are my age, or I've got a one-on-one client right now who's in her 50s, and she's had a career and she's had a life, but she's feeling unmoored. She's feeling like she just doesn't know what to do to move forward. And so that's why we got started. And so we're digging
Cool.
into her right now destiny, where she gets to choose what she wants to do and choose how she feels most purposeful. Yeah, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
wrap that up and I'm going to go on to our topic for today, which
Okay, great.
is yes, yes. Thank you so much, Karen. Everybody can find you at adelicoaching.com,
adelicoaching.com. Yep.
ADELIE
Coaching.
coaching.com. Okay,
Yep.
just want to make sure I got that right. If you can't remember, look up the penguins and you'll find it. Okay, that's wonderful. All right, so today's topic is the reemergence of the divine feminine. And this is perfect for what you were talking about, Karen, because relationships are inherently feminine, all of them. And so my therapist had told me about this, and she's real brain savvy too. She told me this, and then I put it into the cute words. Men are, broad brush, men are wired to provide and protect. Women are wired to nurture and connect. And so we have been stuck in a very, very long cycle of dominance of the divine masculine. And that's not all bad. I mean, I would say that masculine energy is what builds and also what destroys. So we wouldn't have had wars without so much divine masculine energy, but we would, or maybe not as many, but we wouldn't have had buildings and trains, and that's not to say that women don't build things. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that's the energy of it. Okay. So obviously, we all know that there is a patriarchy, and that, like all systems of oppression, many of the oppressed will perpetuate that system of oppression simply because it is what we're used to. And your subconscious, here we go with brain again, tries to keep you safe by keeping you in what's familiar, whether you like what's familiar or not. And that's why change can be so hard to affect. And that's why people resist change in general. It's why people who grow up in abusive households or very dysfunctional households will grow up to recreate that kind of situation. They don't know they're doing it, but they do it. And that's all because we have this wonderful brain keeping us safe, watching out for danger at every turn. And it says, oh, no, 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 no. We cannot go to that job interview. So we're going to wake up with a bad cold, or we're going to wake up with a migraine. We can't do that because that's change and that's too scary. And the thing is that when you are, sorry, I was going to go off onto a tangent about that. All right, let's talk more about the divine feminine. So I've been feeling this really since the turn of this century. And at that time, I was still working in a corporate-ish kind of job, even though I had my own business. My business was a corporate-y kind of thing, corporate support. And but I was feeling this growth of relationships and this sense of feminine energy coming back. And, you know, if you look at, now I call myself post-religious. I was raised Presbyterian, and I like a lot of what Jesus allegedly said. And all the things that he espoused were feminine values: connecting, helping, supporting, help the poor, help the poor, help the poor, take care of the needy, visit the sick, you know, heal the sick, heal yourself, all of that stuff. That's all feminine values, feminine energy. And of course, you know, we all know what happened. So, so to have this coming back, I've been feeling it for a long time. And it started out, you know, earlier in the 2000s, it started out feeling like, oh, I was noticing it much more in marketing, like we were just talking about relationship marketing. It was much more about connecting and marketing to women in that way, in the way that women like to be marketed to. And if you look at the old ads, the old system of advertising came out of the 30s and 40s by men for men. And it was like all the ads were, here, buy this and you'll get laid, for men. And at women, they would say, buy this and you'll get a man, you know? So that's where we came up with all of this patriarchal kinds of promotions, advertising, marketing. Now, my wise old father, I was looking to see if I still had a copy of his book handy, and I do, but I'm not going to get it. He wrote a book in 95 called Nobody Told Me I'd Have to Sell, subtitle, How to Sell Your Services and Skills Even If You're Not in Sales. And his book was very much about relationship marketing. And that's how he did it. I mean, he was a marketing expert. He was a trainer and a sales trainer and a other trainer and a comic, stand-up comic and an actor. And this is what he did. And he always, it was always about building relationships. And so we were really talking about that, you know, at places like BNI, which is a very, very bro kind of networking group, and at other places where we're doing networking. And then I met people who were very woo, like me. And so then everything changed. And I was in this big networking group in Austin, Texas, for several years. And I led it for 2 of those years. And that group was all about what we called co-opetition, which is, again, you know, there is no competition. There's plenty of pie to go around, and people are going to work with who they like, know, and trust. So be likable and get to know the people who do what you do, so that you can refer business to them, because not everybody's going to want to do business with you, no matter what you do, no matter who you are. There's not one person who goes for everybody. And that's why there's so many coaches right now. Okay, so hold on. So we're getting there. So as the divine feminine has been coming back, the pendulum swinging back. So what happens with that is, in any situation like that, there is resistance because of the people who are like, no, we have to stay like we are. We have to stay like we are. That's too scary. You know, my subconscious is telling me to be anxious and afraid. So then we get a lot of pushback against this new era of divine feminine, where people are making a much bigger fuss, right? So there's some violence, there's some bad, ugly rhetoric, there's hatefulness. But then on the other side of that, you've got the Me Too movement. You've got Time's Up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And things like that, that we had Hillary Clinton running for president in 2016. And you see what happened there, that even white women voted against her. And even white women voted against Joe Biden. So it's like these are the people who are being oppressed, and yet they will stick with it because that's what feels normal, feels familiar. But now we're coming along and we're coming along and we're coming along. And I've been saying all along that the people who resist are digging in their heels, but once they lift their feet and go with the flow, then things will be okay. And it will get there regardless. This is the thing that in astrology, we've entered into the age of Aquarius. It is completely different. And that's part of why we're having this upheaval, because we're in this cusp area, which is a very violent kind of area. And so there's a lot of change going on, a lot of change. And there are people like me and possibly you, I'm not sure how woo you are, but there are a lot of teachers who've come forward in this time, specifically for this paradigm shift to help people get through the paradigm shift into greater peace and prosperity for everybody. And like I said, there's not one person who can talk to all people. I mean, Oprah comes pretty close, but most of us, if I can reach 1,000 people and help them, if I can reach 2,000 or 100,000 or a million, beautiful. I'm doing the work that I came here to do. And so there are lots and lots of teachers and helpers and leaders and coaches who are doing the same work in different ways. And that is raising people up into this new paradigm. And it's really exciting, especially when just in the last couple of months, you know what's happened. You know, there's an image I've been given several times as a psychic. I was giving my husband a reading the other day, and the other month, and he asked specifically I think of his late father, what's going to happen with the election situation. And this was before the debate, the disastrous debate. And so I got this image that I get sometimes about this sort of thing. So there's sort of like it's kind of like almost like a volcano that's smoking, but it doesn't look exactly like a volcano, but that's a good description of it. So it's kind of like this danger thing, kind of and all of a sudden it just goes, and it just sort of go, yeah, it's okay, it's done, it's all right. And then right after that, the debate happened, and then what happened then? Vice President Harris is, we're off the charts, and all of a sudden everybody's ready for a woman. And all of the issues that have been going on, the socio-political issues and socioeconomic issues and ramifications, all the things that have been going on have been about women. We've been talking about abortion, we've been talking about voting rights, we've been talking about equality, and we are still in a world in this country where corporations are still almost all male heavy at the top, just all men. I mean, you have a woman in charge of HR, and that's usually all you get.
Sometimes marketing.
Yes, marketing and training. Yes, you'll get women there. That's true. And occasionally you might get the head of legal might be a woman. But yeah, it's just typically like the Fortune 500. I think 490 of them are men, 2 are women, and 5 are Black. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous how many white men are the heads of corporations. Well, that comes back to the patriarchy as we know it today, which was really established by, I know that by the Europeans, but in this country, it came down from the feudal system. The people who came to America and created the United States were white men. And at that time, I couldn't blame them particularly for building a world for themselves, because they were all they knew about. They had wives, but their wives, they didn't know anything about why women mattering, And so they built this world to work for them and to work for businesses. And now we've been stuck with it for 400 years, and it hasn't gotten any better for anybody. So it makes sense that it would break down at some point. And we had a little taste of it in the 60s with women's liberation and with the anti-war protests, peace movement, women's movement, all of that kind of thing going on. I was born in the 60s and I grew up in the 70s, and I thought the women's liberals had just fixed it all. And then in 1989, I was in my mid 20s and I had a job in a little town in East Texas. Well, not East Texas, but in Texas. And I worked at the Chamber of Commerce. And one day, the manager of the chamber issued a memo that the women in the office were not allowed to wear slacks to work. And he was the only man in the office. And we had to wear skirts and dresses and pantyhose. 1989. I mean, my mom was a teacher in the early 70s in Texas, and she was allowed to wear pantsuits. It had to match, it had to have a jacket that matched and coordinated. But 1989, we couldn't wear pants. Are you kidding me? I was just like, and yeah, the bubble was burst. They didn't fix it yet. They didn't fix it. And it hasn't been fixed yet until now. We have a much greater chance. And I don't blame what my Scottish friend calls the pale and stale male, the white men, the older white men, the rich white men. I don't blame them for wanting to hold on to their life, but with the rise of the divine feminine, that means they're not going to be allowed to do that anymore. One way or another. They're not going to be allowed to abuse and take advantage of people, regardless. And so that also means that the rest of us, we are entering into a time of greater peace and prosperity for everyone. And that was something that I channeled years ago. I used to channel emails for my clients. Like they'd just send me a question and I would close my eyes and type. And one of them said, "You're entering into a time of greater peace and prosperity for all humans." And that was probably 20 years ago, maybe not quite that long. So there we are. And this is it. Nothing happens overnight. But to me, it's very, very exciting about all of this and about how it's not about power at all. It's about connection. It's about relationships. It's about love and peace and prosperity, because we don't have to be poor to be happy, or we don't have to be poor to love people. There's no reason for that. We live in a physical world, and our physical needs and wants and material needs and wants are just as spiritual as anything else. So this is a really exciting time. I am just beside myself since this thing has happened with Kamala Harris. The feeling has changed. Everything has changed. And now what I've been sensing for almost 25 years is really coming to fruition. And all along, all through the 2010s, I've been like, okay, this is happening because of that. Okay, that's pushback. That's pushback. Okay, yeah. But I've been patient, and here we are. So it's very exciting. I would love to know your thoughts, Karen.
I think when I hear terms like divine feminine and divine masculine, I struggle to understand what that means and how to engage with them. I think that I am in a lot of circles that do a lot of questioning of gender.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of like, what does it mean to be a woman, or what does it mean to be a man? Like,
Yes.
I have a lot of friends who are non-binary or trans or like,
as do I,
in various states of not clearly in the gender binary.
Yes. I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'll let you finish your thought, but then I definitely have something to say about that. So please go ahead.
And so I never really know how to engage with words like feminine or masculine. Like, I do think that you're using those words in a way that is different than like human gender.
Yes.
And true. Like, I still don't really know what to do with the words that feel gendered, because the entire structure of gender feels like a system of oppression.
Like a construct. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Like
Beautiful.
a construct that has also been used oppressively.
Yes, exactly.
So
definitely.
I feel a little bit about it, even when I think there's really valuable, like we need some kind of language to talk
Yeah.
about the difference between connection, relationship, nurturing, and protection and differentiation and orderliness and
Construction,
building.
destruction.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I do
Yeah.
think that that is a way to separate concepts that is
Hmm.
useful and interesting.
Hmm.
And so I'm not sure what to do with the bristling at the gender thing.
I've got an answer. I've got an idea.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Love it when people have answers.
Yes, I do too. And I'm so glad. Thank you for bringing this up because I mean, there are no accidents, and so you're the perfect person to be here today while I'm talking about this and talking through this. And now I can reach people more effectively by not causing that bristling. And I'm so excited that you said that. So here's the thing. I did start to use yin and yang for a while, but in studying yin and yang just a little, it's really it it's I feel like it's more limiting, which is exactly what you're saying, is that masculine and feminine is more limiting. Yin and yang is kind of limiting in that, excuse me, it says that the yin is everything dark, everything depressing, everything quiet, and it just doesn't seem to have anything good about it. Whereas I see and I'm sure it's a spectrum, but I see the differences as being, um, they both have what we would call good qualities and bad qualities. So yes, the yin is depression and quiet and withdrawal, but it's also nurturing, connecting, giving, forgiving, all of that to go with. So that's not what yin and yang are made out to be. And of course, part of it is too, you see the yin and yang like this, and then it's got a dot of each
Hmm.
color in the other one. So it's really, it is a whole, and it is part of everything. And maybe we don't need to call it, you know, a binary system. But here's what I'm thinking. Why not, why not call them colors? And we've been in a red era for a long time. And now we're moving into a blue era. So what's in between is purple. And so the purple still is, it has some tumult in it because it's where the what
Yeah.
is it? The Dead Sea meets the ocean or whatever that is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of breakers there. But then we could say pretty easily, red is the construction and destruction, and it's the build and destroy, it's the provide and protect, it's the fight, it's the power. And then we can say the blue is the love, the connection, the encouragement, the support, the giving, forgiving. And we all have aspects of that. And like I said, without the red, which I'm now calling the red, without the red, we would have had fewer wars, but also we wouldn't have had buildings and trains. And without the blue, nobody would feel loved. So you've got to have them both. But we've
Yeah.
been out of balance. And I don't know that purple, I mean, maybe purple ultimately is where the real peace is. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
Does that work better?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I really
red and
apologize if I
blue are really
offended you.
politicized colors.
Oh, that's true. We should come up with different colors. I was just thinking about red as being, yeah, but that's a good point. I mean, think about the parties and how they fit into what we're talking about,
Right.
you know? So yeah, so okay, so what colors should we use? Maybe yellow
I
and
was thinking
blue,
about
or
like a yellow and green, maybe?
yeah, I like that. But then what's in between? Chartreuse. I love chartreuse. I'll have to work on that though. But it
Yeah.
we are talking semantics, but I love the idea of making it more inclusive and
Yeah.
clearer. And you know what? This relatively recent boom in people realizing that they're non-binary and recognizing transgender tendencies and helping people to do that, all of that stuff, that's part of this shift. That is part of this paradigm shift because, like you said, some people don't know what they are. Gender's a spectrum. I get that gender is a spectrum. And I support that too. I mean, I have at least one trans friend that I can think of off the top of my head, and the daughter of another friend is trans, and I'm like, this is great. This is great. I think it's be who you are, and that's the best. That's what we're all here for, is to be who we are. And so I love all of that. And I love that you brought this up. And I'm going to play with those colors.
Yeah. And I'm just really interested in what other language might work, right?
Me
I'm
too.
hearing you say a lot of things about the feminine energy being like connective energy.
Yes.
And I think that I'm hearing less of a solidified single word for the other side.
Mm, mm. Okay. Okay.
Um, I wonder if it's action oriented or results oriented.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is action, or it's definitely action. There is energy and movement,
Yeah,
whereas the other is quieter, calmer,
and feels more
considering.
process oriented.
Which one?
I feel like connection is more process oriented
Okay. Okay.
and protection, progress, building tends
Mhm.
to be way more end result or metrics oriented.
Ah, there you go. I like that. Yes. Yes. So a relationship is a process, and building a building is a result.
And
Yeah.
like, do they
Yeah.
both have both? Yes.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I've always said that I actually offended somebody not long ago talking about masculine and feminine for lack of better terms, really. And she was
Hmm.
like, well, the divine masculine, we need that too. And it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, I'm not saying that we don't. I'm not saying we
Hmm.
don't. It has its place. It has it. All the energies are needed. All the different ways of being are needed. But at this point, there's so much of that red or yellow or whatever we're going to go
Right.
with. So much of
I've
that
been,
wood, we call it wood and metal or something, wood and water. But there's so much
I
of
like
that.
wood and water.
You like wood and water? Okay, cool. I'll write that down. So there's so much wood right now that the water is, it's kind of been running dry, or it's been running underground for a long time. I
Yeah.
like that wood and water. Thank you. We worked through something cool. We just invented something. We invented a new dynamic. So yeah.
Yeah.
And there's water and wood, but there's not wood and water. I don't I might have to work on it some more. You
I
like
mean,
water, wood and water, or rocks and water?
I like rocks and water.
Rocks and water. The thing is that the water comes across as very flexible, taking the path
Yep.
of least resistance, necessary for life.
Right.
Whereas the wood or the rocks are what you build with,
Right. And that
what shelters you, what
reminds me of the mental frameworks people use around like the elements and fire,
mhm,
air, water, earth.
yes.
And that's four instead of two,
I like that.
but
Okay.
it feels related.
Yes, it does. Four elements. I'm going to play with this some more. Maybe you and I should set up a meeting to play with it together, and we can
Sure.
figure it out. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap that up for now. Thank you so
Okay.
much. This is
Yeah.
just so perfect to have you here today. And I really appreciate you being here and playing with me on this.
Yeah.
Thank you. And also for holding your thoughts until I finish my big fat lecture. Okay, so several years ago, I was guided to create these oracle cards, good news
Okay.
only fortune telling cards. Every card is a word or phrase and is only good news. It can never be interpreted as anything else. And while if I draw a card, I will usually try to give you a specific interpretation. You can take each one at face value. And the point is for you to strengthen your look for the good muscle. Because as we know, if you look for the bad, you will find it. If you look for the good, you'll find it. And so this is just a way to exercise that and to practice finding the good. Okay, so one card jumped out, so I'm going to use both of them. So this one is love, This is something for
Okay.
you to look forward to in the next few days to a week. And that's, if you're seeing this in the replay, that's also for you because that's how readings work. Whenever you see it, it's for you. This feels like an existential kind of love where you may see evidence of love for humanity kind of thing, more existential kind of love than a specific person or a specific feeling about your dog or your friend or your child. So that's a cool thing to look forward to. Look forward to seeing evidence of a broader kind of love. Okay. And this is the other one. Gifts. Woohoo. Now, this is cool because immediately, I mean, at first I'm like, oh, I get a present. But this is really more about your talents. And so, what this means is that in the next few days to a week, you will discover a new talent that you didn't know you had. And I'm not talking about, oh, I can paint now. Oh, I never knew that. Oh, can I play the violin? I never could before. I'm talking about discovering something that you've always been or done or had, but you didn't realize that it was that special or different from somebody else. So
Cool.
there you go. Those are your two good things to look for. I want to encourage everyone to get a Destiny Diagnostic call with me. This is a 20-minute call in which we dig into your goals, your next steps, and we start talking about what those talents are and how you can use them for money or not. So that's what we can do with that. If you want to get a Destiny Diagnostic, visit the website or you can email me directly, mojomedium@gmail.com, easy peasy. And the website's mojomedium.com. Thank you all for watching and tuning in for this beautiful Woo Wednesdays. I will see you next week at noon central, same bat time, same bat channel. If you somehow got here without registering for Woo Wednesdays, I would encourage you to register, and that's on the website too. Thanks so much. Okay, so the recording, oh, I thought I had stopped the recording.